Go ahead.
Hi,
Hi, everyone.
everyone. Hi, everyone. Happy Coffee Wednesday. We're having coffee with the collective. My name is Lindsay. We have Tammy and Sarah. This is the Good Place Collective online. And we are just so excited to have our coffee talk this morning. So we had initially scheduled the lovely Dr. Alana Hendrickson, and unfortunately due to unforeseen circumstances, we have to reschedule, which we're bummed about. However, we have the lovely Tammy Smith that we are going to interview this morning. We were talking about her great interview with Andrea Kelly on Your Best Being this morning, and we're just like, hey, Tammy, like, how about we just volunteer you to be our showcase member this morning. You know, Tammy has such a really amazing story, and God, it's so lovely to have you here in Kelowna, and I'm excited for our members to get to know you better. So Sarah is going to be doing our interview this morning and asking all the tough, easy questions.
Yes, that's me. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Tammy, for taking this on last minute. We know so much about you, of course, and love your story, and I can't wait to be able to share a little bit with the rest of the group. So why don't you start by introducing yourself and telling everybody a little bit more about what you do.
I was just saying too, before we jumped on to that, there's probably not a lot of people that actually know me or know my story, but you know, everybody knows Koozie. Yeah, God damn it, let's do an interview about me. Okay. So here we are. So Tammy Smith, I am a hypnotherapist. I own Next Level Hypnotherapy. I've just actually added on Next Level Academy as well. So for practitioners or anyone who is in that sort of holistic field who has a course or program that they want to share, I've created a platform for them to do that and to bring that to the world. So kind of
Amazing.
Yeah, it's like a Udemy for holistic health and wellness programs. So you can talk to me about that. As well, I own the College of Professional Hypnotherapy in the Kelowna chapter. And what else? There's a couple. And I'm currently one of the founding members of the Good Place Collective. I'm building a new brand actually called Spirit Woman Academy. So I'm really excited to bring that to the table as well. That's kind
of my goodness. And you sleep when? When do you sleep, Tammy? That's what I'd like to know.
Sleep's underrated, overrated. So thanks for, putting me on the spot. This is going to be fun.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing all that you do. You are amazing. Tammy is a huge inspiration to me. What you get done and accomplished is really inspiring. And so talking about inspiration, who and or what inspires you? How do you find the inspiration to do all these amazing things?
Well, you guys inspire me for sure. Keep me on my toes, really. It's like, oh, that accountability piece, right? Having partners is so great.
Yeah.
Of course, is so amazing. What inspires me? I think actually higher source, I have to say. So coming from a place of really knowing and understanding my intuition and my purpose, inspires me every day. That nudge, that inner nudge, and knowing that that there's a message that has to be shared, and or several messages that have to be shared, really gets me going. Like literally from first thing in the morning, it's like, yeah, gotta get up, gotta write, gotta create, got to put this on the world. So that inspires me, and then seeing everyone else too doing their good work in that realm, right? So bringing more love and peace and kindness and spirituality onto the earth. So that's, talking about all of our own collective people that are part of our Good Place Collective, I think are really inspiring to me too, and seeing the good work that they do and thinking, yes, another one, is learning this or
Absolutely.
doing that, or starting on this path is like just huge. I love that.
Oh gosh, well, that opportunity for them to shine their light. I feel like I can totally relate to that, where you're just like, yeah, go get them, right? Share those gifts.
For sure. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Tell us a little bit more. This morning, as Lindsay already said, we kind of got chatting with you about the podcast that you did with the wonderful Andrea Kelly on Your Best Being podcast, and talking about the story and your story that you shared there. Could you give us a little synopsis of kind of where you came from and where you are now? Because it's a beautiful story, and I'm always honored to hear it.
So before coming to Kelowna, which I moved to Kelowna last June 2019, end of February, I was in a horrific accident, actually, with my husband, Michael, and I lost Michael at that time in that accident. That was Mexico. We were living in Belize half time. I have 20 acres down there that I'm currently trying to build into a health and wellness retreat. That's a whole another thing. And we were traveling for our 12th anniversary to our timeshare resort in Cancun. So in our Jeep, and we were about an hour and a half past the border around Bacalar, Mexico, when just basically my memory completely cuts out at that point until waking up in the hospital. So I'm thankful for that. But our Jeep was absolutely obliterated, and Michael died on impact. So, as I go, I've asked for and I've been told too that that I don't need to know the details of that, and so that's been completely erased from my memory, which is such a blessing. But when I woke up in a hospital, I was in and out of consciousness for the first couple of days, but it was really interesting because I've always been a spiritual person and always had a certain amount of abilities and intuition. But what became explosive for me is the ability to channel. And when I woke up, there was just, my husband was in my ear and he was giving me messages and messages and messages and messages. And it went from being in such a good place and being in such a loving environment and celebrating his death. And I'll explain that in a bit, but to make sure, you tell these friends this message, make sure, Cassidy knows this, make sure this knows this and this. And it was like, it was like this vibration just like coming in with the messages, and it was just too much. So a couple of days of that, anytime and then I'd black out again, and then I'd come to again. I know what was interesting too is I could hear everyone, of course, was speaking Spanish. I was in Bacalar, but pretty much that's just completely Spanish community. And at very first, I was kind of like, oh crap, what's happening? Like, where am I? Oh my gosh. Because you kind of have that, I couldn't remember right off the bat, like what had happened, and you didn't know. And so there was a, oh shit moment. It's like, what's going on? But it was interesting is that I could understand them 100% what they were saying. And it dawned on me after I'm listening and I'm, oh my God. And taking it all in, I was like, wait a minute. I only know about 5% Spanish. And I could understand everything. It was really amazing. And then probably, I don't know, like rolling into, in and out of this consciousness, probably into the third time or whatever, when someone I was aware of them and they were talking, I was able to actually answer in Spanish and say, talking about my husband, right? So asking, is he gone? I had an inner knowing that he was gone, but it was more of a clarification, like, am I still in this kind of dream state? So it was just, there was a lot of phenomenal stuff that happened in the first 24 to 36 hours. That was unreal. But since then, just having this better understanding, greater understanding of what actually happens when we die has been a huge blessing. And what we were talking about this morning too was I come to this point and this understanding not flippantly, but with this knowing. So this different knowing. So understanding what happens when we die and understanding that the circumstances that brought that accident to us, the law of attraction, it was meant to be as all things are, and there is no coincidences. So when I was able to, be fully awake and aware and look back at the year prior to this accident And all of these things that happened leading up to it, it's like, oh, yeah, no coincidences, right? So just before we headed down to, for example, before we headed down for the winter in Belize in October, I had completely and totally and to the letter created an estate binder for my oldest daughter, who is our executive of our estate. And I said, you need to have all these details. Let's get all this together. So I had everything. I had credit card information. I had like phone numbers. I had like just absolutely everything you could possibly think of for an estate thing. Gave her this, and I gave it to her in a USB stick as well, which is smart. Everyone should do this, by the way. So she had a hard copy and she had a USB. And what happened, we have this accident. I'm stuck in Mexico. And it's like, how do we get our mom out? My passport was gone. Everything was stolen from the accident scene, right? Jewelry off our body, wallets, ID, everything. So she had it all. She had copies of the passport. She had copies of the driver's licenses. She had copies of all this stuff. So it took time for the police in Mexico, and thank God the Canadian consulate actually stepped in, and from media and social media, they could see there was a couple of white people, potentially Canadians, that were in an accident, and they were able to connect dots. It still amazes me how this all happened. It was about 3 hours. They had figured out through Facebook, through social media and everything, who we were.
Wow, just gave me goosebumps. That's outstanding.
Yeah, I'm so thankful, and we worked, from that point on, worked with the consul, of course, every single day, and the funeral director who had was aligned with us to help get me back to Canada to get it all to work it out, but just amazing. So anyways, that coincidence that, I happened to have all of these details and given it to her before this time, and then during the time that we were down there. A few times Michael had said to me, you'd be okay. If something happened to me, you would be fine, because we have this in place, we have this in place, we have this in place, and all that stuff. So you'd be okay. But never asking from the other flip side of the coin. It was never me saying, and you'd be okay, if something happened to me. So there's him saying, you'd be okay. So there's a couple of different things, like, and there's more, but that were like, proving to me what I already believed, that there is no coincidences, everything is meant to be, and everything happens for a reason, even in death, and talking about what's happening in the world today, and understanding that, yes, it's tragic, and I'm starting to choke up because actually I'm starting to channel this now, and it gets me right here. So it's not just me that's bringing this message in, it's a higher power. But talking about what's happened with Mr. Floyd and the actual celebration in the fact that this accident happened, on the other side, yes, it seems so tragic and horrible, and oh my God, this has happened. But we have to understand that with nothing happening for no good reason, there's a celebration on the other side, that he has accomplished what he was put on this earth to do. And look what's happened. The earth has come together. The world has come together to say, no, this is not acceptable. We don't accept this. Huge. COVID.
Huge.
What a coincidence, right? This has all happened so that we can start working together as a universal party. So
I love that. And thank you so much for sharing that and your story. And I love what you shared as well about the power of community in getting, like just in the process of getting you home and getting Mike home after that tragedy, and the power of community and collaborating and coming together. And then, as you talk about even the current situations in the world right now, as tragic as those events are, it's kind of proof and evidence that this collaborative community is so needed, and it's what we're doing here in the collective. It's what we need globally, and it's just one of the struggles that I had with COVID was this kind of disconnect that was happening. And what's kind of happened is, like you said, it's all meant to be, and now actually things are coming back together, and I think we're going to be more connected and more of a global community than maybe we have been ever before. So thank you for sharing that and your story. And I think you're right. It's all happening for a reason. It's all meant to be. we're all meant to be here. You know, all our members are meant to be here in the collective. We're meant to be out in the world sharing our work, and just really cool to chat about the different levels of that. So yeah, thank you so much.
The validation too, that this is the path that we're meant to be on, and the people in that, you know, lined up with me, you know, yourself and Lindsay included, right? And understanding that piece. And so for everyone that's coming into our collaboration and into our community, right, that's no coincidence. It's like, you're meant to be here. We're meant to shine our light on the world. And we're meant to do this in a bigger way. And and by bringing all of this energy together, because we are, when you think of us as pieces of energy and bringing us all together, it's like so incredibly powerful for us to bring this on.
It is so powerful. I mean, just what came up for me was unity, like to unite and be together, and we're stronger together, and the journey is easier together, and everybody has a voice and it's louder together, which is just so beautiful in so many capacities, and what we're doing in the Good Place Collective. And yeah, gosh, Tammy, thank you so much for sharing. And, you know, just listening to you too, what comes up for me is togetherness and your flexibility and openness to collaborate with others and to share your story so heart forward, you know, and inspire hope and inspire love for others as well. You know, it's like that magnet that comes. So I really encourage our viewers that if you feel compelled to reach out to Tammy and be a part of that energy and that collaboration, please do so. And if you want to learn more about Tammy, I encourage you to search out her podcast with Andrea Kelly on Your Best Being podcast, because she goes even deeper, and you'll get just such a beautiful understanding. And yeah, it's quite the experience. So I invite you to do so. And Tammy, do you have any parting words as to how people can connect with you, or in terms of your hypnotherapy?
Yeah, if hypnotherapy is what you're interested in, just so take a little deeper dive into who you are or what's coming up for you too. If there's, you know, as we go forward and we're in the space of being a practitioner, there's so much of that negative language that we can talk to ourselves, you know, that we don't deserve this, or that how can I do this, or, you know, there's so many other people in the world that are doing this or whatever. And if you want to correct that, talk to me. If you want, if you are looking for maybe some validation as to what you're doing is right, then let me channel something for you and help you to see, you know, whether you're on the right path or not. Like, I'd be happy to work with any of our amazing members, of course, at any time.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And I mean, just send me a message through this group, obviously, or visit my page, Next Level Therapy, and yeah, get a hold of me. Easy. Give me a call.
Thanks so much for being our interviewee today, Tammy. So good to chat with you and have coffee with you this fine morning. And look forward to seeing you ladies next week. And thanks for everybody who tuned in. And if you are interested in having an interview with us, don't be shy. Reach out and we'd be happy to schedule you in the calendar. So everybody have a great day. We'll talk to you next time.
Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.